In the last part, Lloyd rescued the great orc Arash from the wild ant's nest. He tricks him to make a deal to get 120 orcs to work under him. After a few weeks, they finally reach the sand and steel tribe of wild orcs. The father and son met and had a heart-touching meeting, which shook the whole place. Arash shows his father, the chief head of the humongous head of the queen ant. The whole tribe was very happy, and the chief announces that they will have the celebration there. Everybody starts to squat with some artifacts as weights. Lloyd notices the artifacts and is shocked to see the priceless artifacts being used by the orcs as a workout tool. Lloyd explains his plan to Javier. He says that he will make a refrigerator for the orcs and in return get the 120 worker orcs as well the priceless artifacts. Javier asks him what is a refrigerator, as he was unaware of that word. Lloyd tells him that it is a container that is used to preserve food. Javier now is skeptical and asks him how he knows about such stuff. Lloyd uses his skill and changes the topic. They were in front of a mountain, and he asks Javier to make a refrigerator. They will need the stone, which is made from granite, and they are present in the mountain. Javier tells him that it seems like the rock will take a long time to come out, and that is why he brought him here. Lloyd recalls the chapter from the novel, where a city called Nariman is trapped within a powerful, evil magic force field. Inside the city, there were many refugees that Javier needed to save. By then Javier had already attained sword master status and could form up to 4 mana circles. But he could do nothing as he was stuck outside the wall. His wild desire to save the people in danger from the evil magic made him adapt and create a new skill using the mana circle. 1 circle to protect the man heart, and the other 3 were used as mana blasts from his sword. And from then on, this technique became one of the signature moves of Javier from the novel. Lloyd puts on a solid face and explains the skill to Javier. He was once again skeptical of Lloyd and asks him about it, but Lloyd uses his skills and turns around the topic. Lloyd asks him to try to perform the skill, and Javier then tries to perform the skill as described by Lloyd. He pokes his sword into the rock and a huge explosion takes place. Lloyd didn't know that he could master this skill that easily. As the smoke clears out, he saw that Javier is half naked as his clothes were torn off in the blast. He thanks Lloyd indirectly and asks him if this skill will help him. Lloyd's approval rating has increased by 3 points, and he earns a small amount of RP points. After that, the construction went at a lightning pace. Javier sliced up blocks of granite while Padong transported them. The orcs and the human soldier have also joined the construction. With the help of the orcs, they will be able to build the refrigerator smoothly. Now Lloyd has to arrange ice and some insulation to complete the build. He had already sent some men to fetch the insulating materials, but it has been 5 days since they left the place and didn't return. Javier speculates that something must have happened with the men, and Lloyd immediately gets up and asks Javier to come with him in search of his men. Javier stops him and tells him that he will be more than enough to take care of this matter, but Lloyd tells him he was the man in charge and he was the only one who was responsible for his workers. Javier then accepts Lloyd to come with him. Both of them were searching the traces of the men in the desert, and Lloyd finds a hand glove and some straw that was needed for insulation. Javier informs Lloyd that he senses some unnatural mana flow in that region. Lloyd tries to remember the episode from the novel, where such incidents have occurred, and something clicks in his mind. He immediately orders Javier to come with him immediately, or else it would be too late, and the men have already died. They follow the trail of the straws, and they reach the valley where the Lapellin's dungeon. The place that Javier tackles early on in the novel. This is the hideout of the dark sorcerer named Lapellin. Lloyd was agitated about him violating his property. Javier tries to get further ahead in the dungeon, but is instantly met by a trap. Lloyd quickly grabs Javier and dodges the booby attack. Lloyd mocks Javier as he was a knight, and is still unable to grasp that there were booby traps placed. In the novel, Javier gets caught up in the first trap and enters the dungeon covered in wounds, but he was able to get inside the dungeon without getting hurt any further due to his quick adaptability. He was able to sense the booby traps. Now too, he was able to sense the traps and guides Lloyd into the dungeon safely. Javier was a bit skeptical of Lloyd and realizes that he already knows the future events that are going to occur. The evil sorcerer senses that someone has breached the dungeon and is heading his way, and thinks the intruders are dead, as he had already placed many booby traps to protect the dungeon. It seemed as if he was doing an experiment on the people he abducted, and announces that the preparations were complete and opened the door. He grabs one of the soldiers and drags him out of the room, and throws him into a ritual star. He was ready to sacrifice the soldier with the sickle soaked in blood for 100 days and was about to kill him, but he is interrupted by Lloyd. The evil sorcerer quickly uses his magic and summons a huge wall between them. Lloyd and Javier are stuck in the chamber, and the sorcerer uses his magic and fills the chamber with sleeping gas. Javier was immune to the gas due to his insomnia. Lloyd holds his breath and uses his energizer skill, which enabled him to get past the wall from underneath it using his shovel. And Javier uses his mana blast skill to destroy the ground and enter the other side. The sorcerer was scared as he saw Lloyd coming out of the ground like an undead filled with rage and hatred. He uses his powers and summons a huge creature. He was pretty confident that this will be enough to take care of both of them. Javier leaps onto him and uses his new skill Mana Blast Slash and slices the creature from the middle. Lloyd was shocked by seeing this as there is no skill mentioned in the book that Javier just used right now. Lloyd reaches out to the evil sorcerer and asks him how is he supposed to repay his loss. The evil sorcerer bows down and asks him to forgive him. He tells him to take anything of the valuable tools of sorcery he has in the cave. The evil sorcerer tells Lloyd his emotional story, and he just wanted to resurrect his dead wife and child who were killed by his seniors just to bully him. Lloyd stops his sentimental talks and asks him if his family was resurrected, what would they say about the hundreds of families he killed? Lloyd tells him that he has now become a serial killer, but he forgives him and tells him that he will not be spared again if he finds out that he has hurt anyone. The sorcerer was grateful and thanked Lloyd for his mercy. Lloyd recalls the novel chapter and knew that the evil sorcerer will try to backstab them. As he tries to attack them from behind, Javier immediately beheads him. In the past life too, Lloyd was bullied by his seniors, but one day he lost his cool and then started to beat his senior even though he knew that he will be screwed and would also get fired from the job. But from then the senior never tries to again pick on him. That time he realized that there are clearly times when violence must be stopped with violence. And today they were able to get out of the dungeon with violence too. They once again started their journey back to the tribe. The workers were tired of the work. Lloyd realizes it and takes their sack and carried it on their back. All the workers were touched due to his kindness. The rescued soldiers have been moved by his actions, and through their words, this incident will soon spread far and ahead. They were finally able to reach the tribe and finish the incomplete build. Arash inspects the room and realizes that it was not cool enough, and if they store the meat there it will get spoiled easily. Lloyd tells him that he will soon complete the build and for it he needs ice. Arash tells him that there is no ice in the hot wasteland. Lloyd assures him that they will have to make it themselves. Arash was skeptical and thinks Lloyd is some con man. But he tries to calm him down as Lloyd was the one who saved his life and he must not think of him as a bad man. He leaves the room and promises to help them if they need any. Javier asks him who are they supposed to make ice with. Lloyd was really stressed out and asks him what they can do. Javier asks Lloyd if he was trying to defraud the orcs. Lloyd calms him down and asks him, do you know what unsuccessful people have in common? They are unsuccessful because they try to give an excuse. But people who are successful start things and then figure them out somehow. And that is the mind of an entrepreneur. Javier was unable to understand what he said and keeps silent. In the night, Lloyd was alone, trying to figure out how he was supposed to make ice. And finally, he understands that by using the Azrahan core technique he could absorb the hot mana from the water. There is only cold mana left which will automatically form ice. Javier was sure that he was too reckless and irresponsible to pull such a stunt. Lloyd then prepared the huge ice molds and fills them with water with the help of Padong and Bangul, and then he tests his theory which results in a huge success. After a few days, the tribe leader and Arosh were surprised at how cool the temperature is inside the room. And they were very happy that they will not have to worry about the meat getting spoiled. Lloyd gave Javier a cocky look to which Javier replied, it is what it is. And finally, Lloyd and Javier are finally to get 120 orc workers. The leader of the tribe was very grateful and vowed to him that from that moment Frontera family and the tribe of Sand and Steel will be blood brothers, and strike an amazing pose with the tribe. He announces that the enemies of the Frontera will be considered the enemy of the tribe too. The orcs have now accepted Lloyd as their true friend, and the orcs' approval rating for him has risen. Lloyd was too pumped up and is really happy about the outcome. After a long journey, Lloyd has finally returned to the barony, but this time he has huge and muscular orcs on his side. The townspeople were frightened when they saw the orcs entering their town with Lloyd. The Baron and Baroness are also scared as a huge platoon of orcs are standing in front of their mansion. After everything was over, Lloyd is inspecting the artifacts he got from the Wicked Sorceress dungeon. As he was inspecting the items, he found a book and is shocked when he reads it. He quickly gets up and grabs his coat and leaves the place as he was heading to the mine. He gets into the mine and searches for Tords. The poor Tords was not in good condition and seemed as if he was really tired of the work. But Lloyd is there to save him from all this hard work and tells him that he can use Tords as a test subject for evil magic and make him his ghoul, and control him for the rest of the 520 years of debt he owes. Lloyd was very excited about the experiment, but Tords does not reciprocate the same excitement, so Lloyd puts on a serious look, due to which Tords has to agree with the contract. Lloyd leaves the mine with a cheerful face and wishes Tords good luck. Later that day, the maid informs Lloyd that there were some guests, Mr. Meatloaf and Mr. Shillef, who came there to visit the Baron. It seems as if Lloyd was ready for them to arrive. The Baron and the guests were sitting in the room discussing the debt that the Baron owes them. Mr. Meatloaf asks him to give the rights to the mine, and in return, he will give him some discount on his debt. They were trying to trick the Baron once more. There is a knock on the door, and as the door opens, Lloyd was there with a very happy expression on his face. The Meatloaf guy immediately shows him the official invitation and tells him that this time he was prepared so that he can't make them leave just like the last time without getting their money back. Lloyd tells him that he did not come there to threaten them, but he overheard the amazing offer they gave to the Baron and asks them if he can suggest an offer of his own. The Meatloaf guy tells him that he did not care about his deal, but Lloyd still tells him his offer, which infuriated him. Lloyd with a cheerful face tells him that the two of them can give crappy deals and he can't. Well, that makes me angry. And the orc Arash steps in, and is agitated, and asks who dares to anger his brother. Both of them were scared to see the giant orc. The orc Arash tells them if anyone tries to cause trouble for their Frontera brother, they shall be crushed by the full force of the Sand and Steel tribe. Lloyd calms him and says that there is nobody who'd anger him, and says he just has a loud voice. Both of them were terrified, and Lloyd asked them about his offer, and if they did refuse his offer they might hurt his feelings. They have no choice but to accept the offer, and both of them run for their lives. Lloyd assured the Baron that they will be able to repay the debts soon as all the businesses are going smoothly. But there is a huge problem they will have to face. That is the food for the orcs, as they eat 10 times the food, and if this continues they might gain more debt, which terrifies the Baron. The orcs were very good at mining, just as Lloyd thought. They worked really hard and didn't even care for the wages, they just need to get their bellies full. Lloyd was thinking about where he can get money to get meat for the orcs. The Baron and Lloyd were discussing this issue. Lloyd tells him they have to raise the taxes exponentially so that they can get more money to feed the orcs. The Baron denies this and says that the people are already in a state where they have little to no money. Lloyd tells him that then they have to make opportunities for the people to make even more money. He suggests to the Baron that they should use the forgotten northern lands by transforming the Marteai's wetlands into farmland. And then they can give the land to the people to farm, and then they can generate enough revenue, and that's how they can pay more taxes. Lloyd and Javier are on a visit to the wetlands. Javier tells him that these lands have no use as they have been abandoned for hundreds of years. Lloyd tells him that he has the plan to make the place habitable for farming soon, but in reality, he had no such plan. Lloyd has been researching how he can drain the water even when it rains so that the water level will be maintained for farming. He was working tirelessly, and now it has been 21 days since he started to research the drainage system. Javier asks the Baron if he can stop him. The Baron denies it and tells him that he does not want to become an obstacle in his way. Baron Frontera's approval rating for Lloyd has increased. After a few days, finally, Lloyd was able to get the results he wanted and really happy, and thinks that he has found a way to get more tax money, and falls to the ground all tired. The screen tells him that he has unlocked a new skill with which he can use the data obtained from surveying the land and create a virtual simulation. He was visibly angry at the system for giving him such a vital skill after the work he put into it, doing everything manually. It would be much easier if he just had this skill from the start. He stands up and asks both Padong and Bangul, "Are you guys ready to meet a new friend?" A new day starts, and Lloyd is ready for his new project. The Wetland Proclamation. He asks both of them to help him to get rid of the water. Both of them were worried, but Lloyd calms them and tells them that he knows it would be impossible for just both of them to do the work. And that's why he is going to summon a new creature using his RP points. He presses the button and once again the gears start to appear, making some nasty noises, out of which a yellow creature jumps straight to his face and falls on the ground. He discovers that the creature is like a hippo. Both Padong and Bangul were really happy to see the creature, and all three of them started to dance. Lloyd interrupts them and asks him to give them the instruction manual. The creature spits the manual just like both of them. Hamon did not get bigger or smaller by eating sunflower seeds and thought that it was a dud this time, and is going to summon another creature. But the screen informs him that the summons game can be played once per day. Due to this, Hamon is emotionally hurt, which infuriated Bangul and Padong, and they started a strike. So, Lloyd asks Hamon to show what his skill was. Hamon has the one-shot skill, with which he can chug some water in one shot, as much as his stomach can hold. Lloyd is skeptical, but Hamon insists on using his skill and started to drink water from the pond. As he started to drink the water, his size began to increase. Lloyd was shocked, as now Hamon is now humongous like a mountain. And he emptied the whole puddle, which amused Lloyd, as with his help he can now get rid of the water in a few days. Both Bangul and Padong gave a smug look. Lloyd asked the system if he really got the random summons. Every time he uses summons he got a suitable creature for the work. The system tells him that he maybe got lucky random summons as his special skill, or maybe not. Hamon asks Lloyd if he wanted him to drink more water. Lloyd was surprised and tells him that he can drink to his heart's content because tomorrow is the day they will start reclaiming the Marteais wetlands. All the soldiers were frightened when they first saw the humongous Hamon and his ability to drink insane amounts of water. Everybody settled after a few days. The working method was, first, Hamon will remove all the water from the wetlands, then the soldiers remove any weeds or debris from the exposed ground. After that, fill the area with sand to make a sandbank while Padong packs down the earth. To get water out of the deepest parts of the soil, they used bamboo stalks as straw and have Hamon one shot at all. After this, they build a level using his upgraded simulation skill. And finally, after 10 days of this, they have completed a sector. Lloyd is all cheered up and announces a bonus party after the work is completed, which spreads joy among the soldiers. After a few more days, Javier was very happy that the wetlands were completely transformed into farmlands. He also helped with the work, but he still about his duties that he was a knight, and now he is being used as a worker. Lloyd runs toward him calling his name. Lloyd asks him to plant the seeds in the small part over there. Javier tries to deny it, but Lloyd tells him that it was to get rid of the pest, and eventually, Javier was on his work and thinks next time he will surely deny everything and not fall for this trick again. Everybody was really happy and thought that it was simply a miracle that changed Lloyd from a drunkard to the person he was now. The system informs him that the people in the barony felt deep awe and respect for the miracle he performed, and for this great achievement, he has been awarded with a large amount of bonus RP. Lloyd is satisfied with it. After a few more days, the plants have fully developed in the care of Knight Javier, and it seemed as if Javier is really enjoying the stuff. Lloyd tells him that now the land is fully developed, he can build a water wheel, and it's all set. Javier did not know what a water wheel was and asked him his doubt. Lloyd replied it is something which can be used to remove water when the rain comes, otherwise the land will be underwater. They hear some noise in the background and are confused to see some men on horses approaching them. Lloyd asks Javier who are they, and Javier tells him that it was Viscount Lacona, from north of the Marteais wetlands. The Viscount's knight asks them who was in charge of the project, to which Javier is infuriated and tells him to show some respect. The knight tells him to evacuate the land as it was the property of the Viscount Lacona. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.